All right, boys, what's up? Happy game day. Obviously, this is a different approach to it because y'all are hitting the road. Um, two hour road trip today to St. James, and so we weren't out able to get the mental performance session in the wrestling room like we always do. But I really want to talk to you guys and try to help out a little bit and keep some rhythm and routine to what we're doing here as best as possible. And so this is the solution for those of you who watching and taking in this quiet time. Um, Again, 2 hours on the bus at least, so this should kill some time for you. And yeah, hopefully get our minds right and get our minds set for tonight's game. So the first thing I want to hit on today is talking about reflections. Okay. So I kind of hinted at it last week, talking about you guys getting a journal. And I know that we've been doing some well better house and some quick reflecting on our phones up to this point. But as we get deeper into the season, especially approaching the bye week next week, I really want us to get more into our journals, less into our phones, and definitely implementing this routine of reflecting and doing it in the form of writing, and then us having conversations about our reflections a little bit. Okay. And I understand that for a lot of you, the idea of writing, period, sounds awful and um, just doesn't sound like it has any impact on your play as a football player. And I understand the idea of a journal sounds ridiculous to some of you. And I understand that the idea of reflecting sounds stupid to you as well. And so I'm meeting you in the middle a little bit here and saying that I understand that. Um, you meet me in the middle now. I'm going to sell it to you a little bit more because, like I said, this is going to be a crucial part of mental performance going into the second half of the season and especially getting into playoffs. Reason number one why you should reflect. You should reflect in a journal and you should do these well better house communication. Okay. Um, Communication with who? With your teammates, first and foremost. When we get together as a group and you verbalize some of your reflections on the week's practice or the game last Friday night, it kind of puts it out into existence a little bit, what you're thinking, what you're feeling about your performance, and what you're thinking about the team's performance in the group. And it helps you guys get on the same page. And you're not always going to agree with each other necessarily. But that's part of the reason why we do it, is so that we can kind of air out a little bit where everyone's at mentally. Okay. Um, but it's also going to improve your communication with your coaches and it gets you to start to think like a coach. It improves your communication with me, of course. I am one of those coaches, different, just a different type of coach. But more than anything, reflecting is going to help your communication with yourself. Okay. Um, Reason number two why you should be reflecting. Um, it just improves your football IQ. Okay. You've always got people telling you what you're doing right and wrong on Friday nights. That's certainly what your coaches are for. And you got your coaches telling you what to do and where to be and how to do it. Um, but can you identify your strengths? Can you identify your weaknesses? Can you do that for the team? And can you explain it? Can you talk about it, verbalize it, articulate it? And essentially, can you coach it to yourself? So that's another reason why reflections are really crucial and really helpful. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Yep. Coach Hendricks wants to make sure that the recordings are working. So we got it dialed in right now, Coach Hendricks. Um, Reason number three why you should reflect. It really helps you identify patterns. Okay. Let me see if I can get this to. All right. Uh, there we go. Perfect. So if you do this routinely, okay, not just every now and then, not just when you're down mentally, not just when you've maybe lost a game, but do this routinely, you're going to start to notice patterns in a lot of different ways. You're going to see patterns in the way you think, how you feel, how you reflect. Maybe you're going to start to notice the same things come up over and over again that you need to improve. Or you're going to see some of the same things come up over and over again that the team is good at and is doing well. Okay. But if you don't ever reflect at all in any kind of capacity, whether it's writing or not, you may never catch these patterns. And these patterns could ultimately they could help you or hurt you. When you're struggling for confidence, when you are feeling nervous, when you are behind in a game, your season's on the line in the playoffs, which by the way, newsflash, that's gonna happen. Okay. Not to go off on the side tangent just yet, but you guys are having a successful season, record wise to this point. but the punches in the mouth are coming, okay? And any season is going to have its failures and its struggles and its difficult moments and its mountains to climb. The great thing about the season for you guys so far is you're coming out with wins. The bad thing is you're not exactly racking up any difficult experiences just yet, and they're coming soon. Okay, um, when you're in those moments, when you're being truly challenged, because you really haven't been truly challenged yet, but when you're getting truly challenged on the field, um, sometimes you're going to forget how to be confident. You're going to forget what you're good at. You're going to forget some of these consistent patterns of success you've had. And so reflecting is going to help you come back to that. All right. You're going to have to coach yourself at some intense moment. And these reflections of that's right, I am consistently good at, reading the defense, at blocking in the run game, at executing my short passes. You're going to hopefully fall back on what makes you good if you reflect routinely. And then also, if you don't reflect, you could be falling into very negative patterns week in and week out, and you're not noticing them because you're not taking any time to reflect on them, and you're just making the same mistakes over and over again. Okay. Reason 4 why you should be reflecting: the voice inside your head. Okay. Um, so one of the patterns that you can identify is the voice inside your head. Okay. You are always talking to yourself. You are always coaching yourself, whether you realize it or not. There is a inner narrative, an inner story that's always happening. And we're going to talk more and more about self-talk in the weeks to come, probably next week, looking at the bye week. But when you are journaling routinely and are reflecting routinely, it's going to help you master that internal narrative, that internal story that you are telling yourself and about the team week in and week out. Um, you know, just thinking about stories in general, all right, whether it's a book, it's a movie, a TV show, all those are just stories written by writers, okay? And a lot of times they start with hand pen paper, right? And so by doing these weekly reflections in a journal, hand pen paper, uh, again, realize it or not, what's happening is you're writing your story, okay? And hopefully we are writing one that's all about growth and growth mindset, which is going to I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but number 6, reason why you should reflect. Okay. But what story are you writing each week? Notice that pattern, right? Again, if you don't do this, if you don't journal, you don't reflect, then the stories that you're writing are probably ones that are setting you up for failure. Okay. Reason number 5 why you should reflect: fail forward. All right. When you fail in a game, even in practice, okay, it's usually because you're under high stress or there are high stress situations. When we are stressed out, all right, there's chemical reactions happening that don't allow our brains to necessarily learn anything in that moment. Okay, because you're under stress, cortisol is pulsing through the body. That's kind of, if you ever seen somebody in a fight, in a dangerous situation, God forbid you've ever been in maybe a fight, like just as an example, that's a really high stress situation. Um, and you're not, I mean, you're just not thinking clearly in that moment because your chemical state has been altered. Um, so it's really hard for the brains to learn anything when we're failing in the moment because we're under high stress. Reflecting shortly after a game or after a week of practice allows you to think about the mistake a little bit longer, with less stress. All right. Your body is not under the influence of cortisol, the hormone that communicates stress to us. Okay. So it gives you a chance to then sit back, quiet room, coach yourself, and learn from your failures, right? Because that's about the only thing I can offer when it comes to failure is learning from it. If you don't learn from failure, then failure is just all around bad. Doesn't feel good, doesn't look good, no one likes it, and you're obviously not on the path to success if you're failing consistently. But if you learn from failure, in so many ways, failure can be exponentially rewarding and helpful, right? In the moment, failure doesn't feel good at all. Um, but when we fail, that feeling of failure, if we use it properly, can motivate us to not make that mistake again, right? And journaling and reflecting helps us see that and understand that. Okay. So sitting down with a well better how and going like, I need to be better at, reading the defense there. I need to be better at hitting that gap. I need to be better at my reset routines every time right before I kick a ball. And you see that coming up over and over again. You're going to learn from the failures and again have that conversation with yourself. Okay. And then last but not least, growth mindset. Okay. Um, why should you reflect in a journal? And this is why. This is the number one reason why. I just reeled off six. I could probably go about 10 more, but we'll end with this one right here, growth mindset. Okay. It forces you to think with a growth mindset, a champion mindset, by the way. Okay. Champions have a growth mindset. Um, and more than anything, it keeps you humble, which is what I want to talk about going into the bye week next week and during the bye week next week, because I fully expect you guys to take care of business tonight, um, and get another result, right? But we're stacking up results right now. We're collecting wins, and the danger and the challenge you guys face with each win you're collecting, is it's building up the story and the narrative maybe a little too much. And hype season is certainly here on the island now. And people are noticing your records, right? Um, but are you still humble? All right. And do you still understand that you have a long way to go and a lot of work to do? And quite frankly, you still haven't truly and really been tested. And I think that's the biggest challenge that JI football faces at to this point in the season is just staying humble. So food for thought there going into tonight. Because when you stop and really think about it, and I mean, what have you accomplished so far? Yeah, you're 4-0, but in my opinion, nothing. You've accomplished absolutely nothing. All you've done is win some non-region games. I'll take it back. The one thing you've accomplished is experience, right? That's what games are. They're the best form of practice, and you've had 4 practices to this point. Um, so you're racking up some experience and hopefully learning from the failures and building some confidence from the wins. But other than that, you've accomplished nothing. You have no trophies. All right, you aren't a champion of anything. All you've done is moved up some social media rankings and grabbed some attention, and the news is talking about you a little bit. So what do you do? Okay. Um,